Today you're going to be experimenting or trying out some new painting tools and techniques. That just means new things to do, new ways to do it. The first thing you'll want to do is make sure you folded your paper in half, hamburger style. That means you hold it long ways and then you fold it in the middle to create a vertical line. And when you do, it should look like a hamburger, not where you hold it up and down vertically and then fold it. So make sure you're holding it long ways or horizontally and then fold it vertically. Okay? Then you're going to put your plus sign signature on the back. So that's your name, your teacher's name, your color group, and your grade number. Then you're going to flip it over. You're just trying out these materials, but I do suggest that you maybe draw the sketch that you decided to go with for your final artwork. So maybe first in pencil you are drawing and then you're trying the tool. So if one of my artworks was a big turtle on top of a little tiny mountain, there's my big turtle. And he's on a tiny mountain. Okay, I could draw that with pencil, and I could do that again over here. Then you'll try out two different other materials. So one of your choices is to use watercolor pencils. So you can just outline whatever your object is with the pencils. You can color some of it in, or you could leave it blank and just do the outline, and that's up to you. I really want to try both, so maybe here I'm going to color in the head. And then I'll leave everything else, just the outline. And then maybe I'm just going to color really lightly somewhere, not super dark. Okay. And then maybe one place I'll just make it dark around the edges. Okay, so that I can see how that looks different. You can also use the watercolor crayons, and same idea. You can just do the outline if you want, or you can color it in lightly. You don't have to push very hard with these. And eventually you'll see what happens with this. So that is doing the first step. For the watercolor pencils and crayons, you just need water. So you get your brush wet, and then you keep it inside of the area of that one color. It looks like I didn't clean my brush very well before I got started, so make sure your brush is nice and clean. There we go. Okay, you'll notice that some of the color will flow into the white space, so sometimes you don't really need to color the whole thing. Same idea with the watercolor crayon. Make sure you've cleaned your brush all the way, and then you'll just go back and forth in the same direction like you would with any other paints to kind of paint that in. So those turn to paint. The other choices, you'll just choose one, but I'm going to show you both, is you can use oil pastel as a resist. That means it's going to push the paint away somehow. Or just normal crayons as a resist. It too will push the paint away somehow. So for this, I'm just going to draw some shapes so I can get some ideas. One of them, I'm just going to do an outline that I very lightly colored in. Maybe I'm doing one that I've totally colored in and maybe smoothed it out. Okay, and then maybe one where some of it is pushed down and smoothed and some is not. So I can see what happens when I try it differently. Okay. Alright, so make sure my brush is clean completely. On these, you're actually going to use the tempera cakes. So to make tempera cakes work, get your brush wet, okay, and kind of paint water onto the block of paint. When you're using resists, you want to make sure your paint is nice and thin. So I get my color on my brush, but then I dip it in the water, and then I'll go over. So paint, water, dab, and then I'll go over it. If it doesn't have enough water, it will look really dark on top of your color. So with resist, you just want it to be kind of some light colors. You can do more than one, but always remember to clean your brush and fill your whole page with paint. Okay? And then I'm going to show you the crayons. So here, maybe I'm doing a trophy now. Same thing, you can color in some areas, you can color in the whole thing, or you could just do an outline. So maybe try a few different things to see what you like. And then you can give it a go. Maybe you can add some extra colors in there if you'd like. Okay. If you want a smaller brush, someone else at your table will have it, so just share. Make sure your brush is totally clean. Pick up your color just by getting your brush wet and kind of painting that water onto your temper cake. Sometimes if it kind of dips in, you can think about it as making a pool of water in your paint. So after I get paint on my brush, then I dip it in the water and dab it on the side, and then I can go and paint on top. Okay, and so you'll see what happens when you do that. Remember, fill the whole thing. You can use multiple colors. Just be sure you're keeping your paint very light. Alright, so make sure you do your resists, that's the oil pastel or the crayon first, and then go over it with your temper cake paint. Okay, remember to fill the whole page, and just adding some water will really help the paint flow. So if your paint's not flowing, that means you need to add more water to your brush. Okay, happy art making!